All right, so we can start off. Maybe I will start by checking on some people who are present. I'll go slowly so that all people are captured. There is Patricia from Gayaza High. Thank you for joining. There is Okasha from St. Michael International. Thank you. There is Jorin from Wampe Ontake. Thank you. There is Malcolm. I don't get it well. There is Jola from Taiba International. Good. There is Trina from St. Seta High. Mukono. Good. Ria from Nagalama. Aviela from Taiba. Mildred from Entebbe School. Samuel from Taiba. All right, you can keep them coming. Sasha from Weranyang Girls. Good. Keep them coming. Meanwhile, I'll start. Others can keep coming just for purposes of us knowing each other. So I'll start off with a lesson. Today we're going to go through the journey through the viruses, and we are going to specifically understand what viruses are and why we must understand them as students anyway. My name is Adam Navende. I'm a teacher of biology. I teach Mbale Secondary School, but I specifically teach of biology. I also teach with the Holistic Learning Platform, which we shorten as HELP. And then this is organized by Holistic Learning Platform under the steership of Mr. Kaziba Stephen. And therefore, we really thank him for creating these sessions for people to stream lessons for free. Other places they pay fees for the holiday learning, but here we are streaming them for free. Just simply have to load the data and then you access them. So we really thank Holistic Learning Platform and Mr. Kaziba for the great work he's doing. And then I also thank each one of you for joining today. I hope I always know the numbers always keep increasing as we go on. And so I know we have a lot of things we can handle as we go on. But of course, the time is always not too much for us to handle it. But hopefully, we always pray to always get enough time to take you through so that we can handle all your areas that you feel must be handled or that you didn't understand so well while you're still in class during the real time for teaching. So tonight I'm going to handle the viruses. It's one of the topics that you covered last term. Okay, so our competence is here. All right, so our competency is okay, sorry, just a moment. So our competency all right, just a moment as I try to access back at this. All right, so our competence is learners must understand the characteristics of viruses, their infection and transmission, and symptoms by prevention and prevention of key examples of viral diseases, for example, HIV, Ebola, hepatitis, and cassava mosaic. So we are going to understand how these diseases come up, of course, caused by viruses, and we shall mainly have the HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, the Ebola, the hepatitis, and then the cassava mosaic. So introduction, before we can even start, people are always talking about viruses, and I know this is not the first time you have ever heard about them. Even before the teacher talked about them in class, for those who learned last time, they could have heard something about a virus. So if viruses are not in the 5 kingdoms, yes, Samuel has something to say? Okay, Sasha, you can type it. Type that thing that you want to be shared. Type it. Type, Sasha. You can type. I saw your hand up. So I was only asking that we have always been talking about these viruses, even before the teacher coming to introduce them in class. So what do you think are viruses? And I know before this, we have even already learned about the five kingdoms. I'll maybe check on Sasha's. Sasha has not typed. I hope you didn't have something so burning. So we already learned about the five kingdoms. We began from Monera, we went to Protoctista, we talked about fungi, we talked about the plantae and then the animalia. We remember when we're talking about these five kingdoms, we didn't place the virus anywhere. So if viruses are not in the five kingdoms of the living organisms, do you think they are alive or not? So you can simply type for me your response there. You're thinking, do you think the viruses are alive or they are not? I'll read your comment, of course. Yes, can we type it? Do you think viruses are alive or not? Because remember, when you're learning about the five kingdoms, we didn't place viruses anywhere in the examples. We didn't put them under Protoctista. We didn't put them under Monera. We didn't put them under fungi. We didn't put them under plantae or animalia. So where do you think viruses belong? Are they living or not? Jola says viruses are non-living. I wish you could attach a reason there. Then there is Sasha. Sasha says viruses are living and non-living. Why? Any other person to give an idea? Teacher, I want to talk. Rania Najuma. No, Rania, type it. Rania, type it. It really depends. When they are outside a host cell, they are non-living. But when they are inside a host cell, they get characteristics of living things. Wow, that's a good idea also. Patricia says it when they are outside, they are non-living, and when they are inside the host cell, they are living. Good. So that one is also talking just like Sasha said. Any other person? I don't see boys responding. Are you sure you don't have any boys? Ebola viruses are non-living because they are not classified under any kingdoms. Okay, that's a good observation. Rania Najuma. Rania, why? Type it. Just type it. Non-living because they do not carry out all the seven life processes. Wow, Aviela, that's a good idea. They don't carry out all the seven life processes. That's wonderful. During they are both living and unliving. Okay, good. That is Samuel. Wow, Samuel is representing the boys. They are both alive and dead, meaning that when they are in the body, they perform some life processes. While if they are out the body, they are just air particles. Okay, that's according to Samuel, that when they are alive. Okay, well, we shall clarify all that. Wanted, a virus can multiply only when it is with the living cells of the host organism. Okay, that's why they are living or non-living. Wanted, you can improve that because they carry characteristics of both living and non-living. What are those characteristics, Sasha? Okay, so we shall progress. You keep them coming. Keep them coming. Rania, Rania, I don't know.
So, teacher, me, I'm on both sides because on the side that they are not living, first of all, they don't have cells, which are the basic needs of life. Second of all, they don't reproduce on their own. They need a host cell. Then they don't grow, make energy, or carry out metabolism. On the non-living side, when on the living side, they evolve through mutation and natural selection. They can respond to environments like adapting to immune defenses, and then they replicate, but only inside living cells. So I don't know.
Okay, then.
Their organisms at the edge of,
Okay.
let me call them organisms at the edge of life.
Okay, Rania, thank you, thank you. Thank you. You had a really wonderful ideas. It's good that you said them. I think that's why I wanted to say them because there were really many, but they are all right. Okay. So let's try to understand. Let's try to dig deep into the viruses and what they are actually. So let's go to the meaning of a virus. I usually hear some people call themselves viruses. I don't know if you have them at your school. Even just in the local setting, there are some people who have nicknames as viruses. I don't know why they use them. So we are going to go through what a virus is. So in a virus, something is very tiny. Like we always know that like bacteria are very tiny, like we can't see them with our unaided eyes. So you need a microscope, or sometimes you might even need a very sophisticated microscope, like electronic microscope, before you can identify them. Now it is even worse with viruses. Viruses are very small, too small that sometimes the light microscope cannot see them. So meaning for you to see viruses, you must need a sophisticated instrument to see them. So you can't see viruses with your naked eyes. So they are very tiny. They're also non-living particles made up of genetic material. Okay. So viruses are very tiny, like we said. That's why sometimes you hear us calling them particles. You know the meaning of a particle? A particle is something when you crush, it divides into particles or into smaller pieces. But for us humans, for example, when you cut, for us, we come from a cell. They can't divide into smaller particles. Rather, when they try to crystallize us, we shall end up in cells. But for particles, it is a different story. Most of viruses. So viruses, we shall call them particles, not living things. So they are non-living particles made up of genetic material. Now someone can ask that what is a genetic material? You always hear of someone when they say they look at their son or daughter, they say this daughter doesn't look like me, so I'm taking them for a DNA test. So a DNA test, just like we said that the other parent is not saying that this child is mine, it means that there are some characteristics that baby is having that does not resemble the parent. That's why they are doubting. So it is the role of the DNA that should make characteristics that resemble the parent. So also viruses have those, they have the DNA to carry characteristics that resemble the parents. The word DNA in full is deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA is ribonucleic acid. Both of them carry genetic material. For example, there are the ones which shall carry some characteristics from your mother. There are some people who they say that this one looks like daddy, this one looks like their mommy, simply because of the DNA that you picked that carried the information from your daddy to you. That's why you look like them. And so they're also enclosed in a protein coat, and it cannot grow, reproduce, or carry out life processes on its own. So viruses, in our analysis, we know that they do not grow, they do not reproduce, and they also do not carry out life processes on their own, but they must do them in a cell which is called a host cell, which can help carry them and make them perform those functions. So instead, a virus must invade cells of a living organism called a host cell or a host to replicate. For example, the HIV virus cannot grow on its own, but the HIV virus shall only grow when it goes into some person. That's why it will be able to grow. Otherwise, if it is outside alone, it will not be able to grow. So viruses are much smaller than bacteria and are so tiny that they can only be seen using a powerful microscope. I've already talked about that. So viruses are infectious agents with both living and non-living characteristics. It is therefore paramount to avoid activities, behaviors, and habits that lead to acquisition of viral infections. So viruses are infectious. They can cause disease to humans or even to other living organisms, even including plants. Because they are very dangerous, more so when you come into contact with them. You remember the scenario of coronavirus, whereby even when someone just caught in a place where a person who has been infected caught also gets the COVID-19. So these viruses are very dangerous, and that's why we should avoid being involved in activities and behaviors that lead to the transmission of these viruses. Because when you get them, they are really lethal and they can lead to death. Do you know an example of a virus? You can, other than the ones I'll put here, you can give me some examples of viruses. I see Najuma's hand is up. Okay, I'm going to give a chance to, I see Rania talked, so I will go to Samuel.
Hepatitis C.
Samuel talk. I've unmuted you.
Hepatitis C.
Yes, hepatitis B. Good.
C.
Jeremiah?
Yeah, rabies virus.
Which one?
Rabies.
Rabies. Right. It says rabies. Okay. Who else? Rania? Rania, have I unmuted you?
So, teacher,
Yes.
yeah. So teacher, me, I want to give animal, plant, and human viruses. So in the human viruses, I have measles virus, polio virus, and HIV virus,
Good.
influenza virus, coronavirus, and then in animal, I have rabies virus. Yeah, and then in plant, I have tobacco mosaic virus, potato virus. Yeah, that's all.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Jorin. Jorin. Did I unmute you? Jorin? I don't know. Jorin, did I unmute you? Okay. I don't hear Jorin. It's okay. All right. Maybe you can type it. Just type it in the chat box and save that as well. Jeremiah, they are both okay. Ebola virus, good. Polio, COVID-19, tetanus. Sure, no. We shall not take all these ones. Not all of them are caused by viruses. Tetanus, no. Okay. Tetanus is not caused by a virus. Okay, so let's simply go through some of them here. So we have viruses can infect various hosts, including humans, animals, plants, and even bacteria. There are some examples. We have human immunodeficiency virus that causes AIDS by attacking the immune system. It's very common. Then you have influenza virus that causes flu, which leads to fever, cough, and fatigue. I know flu is the most common thing among us. Then we have the coronavirus that causes COVID-19, a respiratory illness. Let's see, very many people are aware of that because it caused a lot of hiccups just of late. Then we have hepatitis B virus that affects the liver and can cause chronic liver disease. Yes. Then we have the cassava mosaic virus that causes cassava mosaic disease in cassava plants. And specifically according to our directive by the curriculum, we shall mainly handle the HIV virus, we shall handle the Ebola virus, hepatitis B, and then we shall also handle the cassava mosaic only. So we shall go to what does a virus look like? I know, just like we said, people are always talking about a virus, but they even call themselves as virus. So we should understand, if someone calls themselves a virus, what are they really made up of? And of course, for us in this case, we're only talking about, we want to find out, how did the COVID-19 look like? How does the HIV virus look like? Okay, Samuel has something to say. Samuel.
A virus is unicellular, meaning made up of one cell. The virus is unicellular, meaning it's made up of one cell.
Says the virus is unicellular, means made up of one cell. Okay. Rania?
So teacher, in the genetic material, the virus, it can be like DNA or RNA. It can be single-stranded or double-stranded. Yeah. And then in the protein coat, it is made of repeating protein subunits, helps the virus attach to and enter host cells. And then in some viruses, they have viral proteins that help with infection. And some of them are found like in HIV and influenza. Then in the surface proteins or spikes, they stick out from the capsid or envelope. And then they are crucial for recognizing and binding to host cells. For example, the spike protein. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your ideas. Good. Rania said that they are made up of DNA or RNA. Of course, they are made up of one of that, not two of them. Can be having DNA or RNA. Now, she also said that they are single-stranded and double-stranded. No, DNA is double-stranded and then the RNA is single-stranded. So usually when you say that they have DNA or RNA and they have double-strand or single-strand, you are usually repeating. It is the DNA that has double-strand, then RNA has single-strand. Just like we said, the role of that is to carry genetic information or instructions. So we shall systematically break down what makes up a virus here. So just like the virus has a simple structure designed for infection and replication. So usually it is the role of the outside part of the virus that plays the role of infection. And then the inside part plays the role of replication. And you should bear in mind that all these things happen only if the virus is in the host cell. A host cell is that cell which is carrying the virus. It is contains genetic material. It can either have DNA or RNA that carries the genetic information for making new viruses. This is protected by a protein coat called the capsid. Capsid is found on the outside of the virus, and its main role is to prevent the virus from being eaten by the host cell. Because remember, as the virus is in the host cell, it is making the host cell sick. So the host cell shall try to fight the virus and therefore the virus should look for the way of protecting itself from the host cell. And therefore, that's why it has that capsid, which determines the virus's shape also. Then some viruses also have one additional lipid-based envelope derived from the host cell. And the main purpose of that is to confuse the virus so that it cannot be digested by it. Okay, I'm seeing many messages accumulating. Maybe I'll check. Please, just like I said in the start, don't use the chat room for discussions which are outside there, what you are learning. Okay? Do that. Don't use the chat room for discussions which are not on the viruses, for example, for today. So we have the, we also say that they contain surface proteins or spikes to help the virus recognize and attach to host cells. And the non-enveloped viruses lack this outer layer complex. Viruses like bacteriophages may also have tail structures and fibers for injecting genetic material into bacterial cells. Most if it is the case of bacteriophages. So I want to show you here the structure of a virus, and then I will give you a summary of what a virus is. Of course, you have many kinds of viruses, but this is a typical one that I can show you. So you see the protein coat lining the outside of the virus, then the genetic material, which in this case can be the RNA or the DNA. If it is the RNA, then it is made up of one strand like that one. But if it is DNA, it has two strands. So it is too small, like you see that one is 10 nanometers, meaning it is something very, very small that you can't see with your naked or unaided eyes. So to simply put it, a virus has mainly the protein coat for protection, and then of course it also has the other spikes for anchorage, and then it has the genetic material that is responsible for carrying characteristics from the parent to the new viral, to the new viruses. So we shall go to the characteristics of viruses. The first one, we shall of course say, remember we said that viruses are either living or non-living. So meaning we are going to find the characteristics that classify them as living. Then we shall also identify some characteristics that characterize them as non-living. And therefore we shall start with the characteristics that characterize them as living first. So we say, like other living cells, a virus has genetic material. So not all living cells, even yours, even for plants, even for bacteria, all of them have the genetic material, which can be DNA or RNA. And the purpose of it is to carry information from the parent to the new young that are being produced. They also have, they multiply when inside living cells. Like we said, viruses, when they have attacked a living cell, so they are inside the host cell, they are able to increase their numbers. So meaning they are capable of reproducing while inside the host cell. And because of that, they can characterize them as living. They also carry out metabolism when inside living cells. Of course, when they are inside living cells, they can carry out processes that can help them make energy. Even just you yourself, anytime you go without eating, you start, I'm feeling hungry and I don't have enough energy. So you must eat, and after eating, the food shall undergo metabolism, giving energy that can enable you live or perform the life processes. Therefore, also these viruses, when they are inside host cells, they can carry out life processes. And they can change, mutate into new strains. So also there is a characteristic of living things mutating. Mutating means changing. I know you always watch cartoon, you talk about the mutants. What mutants are the things which have changed and they don't look like their parents. So viruses are also capable of mutating or changing into new strains. So those are the characteristics that can identify viruses as living. Unless you have any other that you wish us to add. Otherwise, I will take you to the characteristics that make viruses non-living. So the first one is they are not made up of cells. So in other words, that's why I told you that we don't call viruses viral cells, but rather I call them viral particles. Because when you crystallize them, they be going to particles instead of going into cells. Number two, they do not need to eat in order to live. Viruses can go dormant for a long time under the latent period. So during that time, it means that they can also live without eating, unlike other living organs that can always eat for them to get energy. But for the viruses, they can live without eating. And then need a host cell to multiply or reproduce. So just like I earlier said, is that they can reproduce, but they can only do that when inside the host cell, meaning when a virus is not inside the host cell, you not be able to reproduce. They can also need a host to carry out metabolism. So for them to make energy, they need the host cell to house them before they can make energy. Also crystallize and become completely inert if isolated from host cells. Should you pick a virus and then you take it out of its host cell, and it will completely not be active, okay? However, it won't mean that it is dead. So that's why I said viruses can be crystallized. Please, Motorola, what's the problem? Okay. So let's proceed. And then at this rate, we shall go to how the viruses or viral infections are transmitted. So before we reach here, okay, let's start with the methods, because this is the most important also for now. So we are going to talk about how viruses are transmitted from one person to another. So always here, there are many myths on how some diseases are transmitted. But with the improvement in education and technology, we often find the right ways how these things come up. I know even there are some myths that they have told you on how people get infections. And therefore, since you're talking about the viruses, we shall try to clarify on them. I don't know if you have any myth that people say in your areas about these infections. You shall maybe take HIV, Ebola, or any other. Usually, for example, HIV is the one which has the most myths. So some people think that, but when you shake a person suffering from, when you shake a hand of a person suffering from HIV or AIDS, it can also get you. So those myths are the ones we are going to put right today. So the first one is we have picked the examples and then how they are transmitted. Elijah asks, so why are viruses not reconsidered to be living things? Just like we said, the whole of the criteria that you can use to differentiate viruses as living or non-living is when they are in the host cell and when they are out of the host cell. So to simply put it, a virus is only living if it is in the host cell. But when it is outside the host cell, it is non-living. Okay? Yes. All right. So we have direct contact through blood, for example, HIV, body fluid like sweat, saliva, for example, COVID-19. You always remember the HIV. Now, the direct contact through blood it is direct contact through blood. We said when you shake someone's hand and that person has HIV, it doesn't get you. It only gets you if there is a wound and then there has been exchange of blood between you and that person. That's when it can get you. We can also move through the body fluids like sweat, saliva, for example, COVID-19 and Ebola. And then secondly, we have the feeding on contaminated food and using contaminated water, for example, poliomyelitis, the one you commonly call polio. So when you eat dirty food or contaminated food, using contaminated water, you can get poliomyelitis. Then the third one is droplet infections. Droplets refers to those fluids that are coming out of your body. For example, when you sneeze, that comes out is the one we call the droplets. So then if we are carrying infections, these droplets may contain viruses which may remain suspended in the air or fall to the ground, ending up affecting healthy people, especially respiratory infections like influenza. There is not you can get influenza if you're still near someone who has it and then they sneeze, they didn't close their nose. Obviously, they shall have COVID-19 or influenza in that air, and if you inhale it, you'll also definitely get that infection. So those are the main three ways that these viruses can be transmitted. They can transmit through direct contact, through the blood, or they can also be transmitted through feeding on contaminated food, for example, polio, then droplet infections, for example, influenza or COVID-19. So let's go to the disease caused by viruses. Viruses are pathogens that penetrate into the host cells and destroy the cells in which they reproduce, leading to infection or diseases. Now, remember that viruses cannot live on their own, so they'll need the host cell. Now, the only mistake they make is after them going into the host cell and during their stay there, they can have effect on the host cell, therefore damaging it. Meaning when they have damaged the host cell, this cell is going to be sick and therefore it can lead to the infection or disease. So viruses can cause diseases in various hosts, including humans, animals, plants, and bacteria. Some diseases they can cause can be mild. Mild means they show smaller signs. The intensity of the signs is small. Like you might not see it as you're very sick. That's the meaning of mild. While others can cause severe. Severe means they will cause an infection that is really of great harm to you, or even cause pandemics. You remember the pandemic which began in 2010, I mean in 2020, in Uganda. I think you remember it very well. So the pandemic means a disease which can cause great alarm in the whole world, and they even cut off people from moving. The most common viral infections include AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome caused by HIV virus, have hepatitis B, hepatitis E, and then you have cassava mosaic, have Ebola, influenza, and then among others. Now the next part you're going to go through is we are going to try to understand the spread or the transmission and then of these viruses and the kind of disease they cause to the people, their signs and symptoms, and then how we can prevent such diseases. So unless you have any question concerning what I've talked so far on the introduction to the viruses, then you may ask me. Any questions? Should I proceed? If you don't have any questions, you can ask me to proceed by typing in that chat box. Then I can take you through the different viral diseases. No response?
Teacher,
Yes. Can hear you.
so you have disabled, so you have disabled us from chatting with everyone. Like
Yeah, because people are just
some people cannot text what their questions are.
okay, then maybe I shall just be talking because some people can misuse the chat room. That's why at times. Patricia,
I have a question.
you can go ahead and ask.
Can contact with infected animals or like feeding on infected animals, can it also be a way of transmitting viruses?
Beg your pardon?
Like, can contact with infected animals or feeding on infected animals, can it be a way of transmitting viruses?
It depends. It depends. Of course, there are a number of viruses. There are a number of viruses which are spread differently to the humans. If we take an example of rabies, of course, rabies you can get it if you get a bite from a dog. That which dog also has rabies. That's why they can transmit from the dog to yourself. So by depending on the kind of virus, and unless if it is having a vector as that animal, and then maybe you eat half cooked or you eat unready food, that's when you can get it. But of course, it depends on the kind of the virus itself. But in this case, that's why I said we are limiting to the HIV, the Ebola, hepatitis B, and then the cassava mosaic only. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
Unless you had a specific viral disease. All right, so we can proceed now. And we have begun with the human immunodeficiency virus that we commonly call HIV. So HIV is a virus that attacks the body's immune system, meaning it attacks mainly the ones you commonly call the white blood cells. It attacks that one. And then when it has attacked the white blood cells, it means that it's going to cause the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome that we commonly call AIDS, which occur at the most advanced stage of the infection. So usually you don't get HIV in the first years. It is only after some time that you can get the AIDS, but at first you only get the HIV. So when the immune system has been completely weakened, that's when you get AIDS. So HIV targets the body's white blood cells, like I've said earlier, weakening the immune system. This makes it easier to get sick with other diseases. Infection is because the body finds it hard to fight off other infections. HIV virus is one of the major problems faced by Ugandans. I'm sorry, I'll mute a bit because there's a lot of noise. Meanwhile, you as muting, you can also be talking. You can raise up your hand. I want you to share your views on what you think are the common causes of HIV virus and why it has persisted in Uganda, more so in your area. You can raise up your hand and then you mention your view, why you think it has persisted and it has started to eliminate HIV from our country.
Mm. Teacher, the reason why HIV has persisted, maybe in Uganda or in our local area, is because there is gender vulnerability. So women and girls, especially adolescents, face higher infection rates due to gender-based violence, limited access to education, and economic dependence. Then it has high-risk populations, such as sex workers, men who have sex with men, and people who infect drugs face stigma and barriers to health care. These populations often lack consistent access to prevention tools like PrEP or clean needles. Then in the geographic hotspots, HIV prevalence is higher in urban centers, trading hubs, and transport corridors, where mobility and transactional sex are more common. Then in the funding and resource gaps, Uganda's HIV programs have historically relied on international donors. Reduced funding has strained prevention and treatment efforts. Then in the testing and treatment gaps, treatment interruptions, especially during pregnancy or breastfeeding, can lead to new infections, including mother-to-child transmission. And in the culture and behavioral factors, despite awareness campaigns, some communities will struggle with misinformation, stigma. Yeah. And then the
Okay, let's pick up. So we have that's the HIV virus. That's how it looks like. Of course, this is just the top picture of it. But these are the main insights from the USAID, or the one you call the United States AIDS, and of course the UK AIDS. According to it, they said globally there are about 40.8 million people who are living with HIV, with an adult 15 to 49 years prevalence of around 0.7%, meaning in every 100% of the living people, it's only 0.7 that have the virus or that have HIV, while 1.57 million adolescents 10 to 19 years, and then 3.2 million younger people 15 to 24 are affected, though only about 60% are on treatment, meaning the majority of the people, 40%, don't know whether they have the virus or not. And maybe if they know, then they are not on treatment. So they are just out there living. This is so in 2024, this age group accounted for 370,000 new infections in Uganda. So just like according to the records here, the most spread of HIV is among the adolescents, people who are between 14 to 24. Those are the ones who are having the most HIV numbers. So that's why, and I'm sure majority of you are either coming to or in that age bracket. So you should always be remembered that you should, just like we began earlier, said you should prevent yourself from behaviors that can put you at a cost of getting HIV or any other viruses. And adolescent girls and younger women bear a disproportionate burden. So among those numbers, majority of the people who are having the virus are the girls and women. So meaning they account for the biggest numbers among the youths, with the prevalence estimated at 4 times higher than males. So meaning for every 5 people, you'll find four females with HIV and then 1 male with HIV. And this, just like I've quoted here, that majority of it is being under the adolescents, so between 14 to 24. So you have all the reasons to prevent yourself from being infected by the HIV. So this is of course the one I'm from giving is from 2024, but this is the one for 2023. It is not any different from the one of 2024. The only difference is here the numbers have increased. We have more HIV infections as compared to 2024. Understanding the signs and symptoms of viruses, of course, that is more important also. The symptoms of HIV vary depending on the stage of infections. So there are sometimes usually people can just judge using their eyes. They see someone is growing thin, they're like, that one has HIV. Maybe they see someone developing red lips, they're like, that one has HIV. I see someone is a bit emaciating, they are losing their hair, say that one has HIV. That's not the usual way we can judge if someone has HIV or not. It's wrong. The most symptoms, we are going to cover them today, and we're going to understand how to tell if someone has HIV or not. So maybe you can, someone can tell me the signs they think of people who have HIV according to them in their local setting. You can raise up your hand. Samuel, you're muted. I mean, you're unmuted.
Oral flush.
Samuel, do you say?
Oral flush.
Oral thrust. Oh, oral thrust. Okay, yeah, that's the most common sign. Good. There is
Most of them look weak.
Chronic cough. And memory loss.
Itchy rashes around the skin.
Simon. Okay, let's go to Rania.
Teacher, they have fever and chills, fatigue and headache. Some get sore throats. Some have muscle and joint pain, skin rash, night sweats. And yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. We have Jorin. 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 Did I unmute you? So Jorin didn't get unmuted. Okay, so we shall proceed. From there. Go through some of the signs. HIV spreads more easily. You can type it. Jojo, you can type it. More easily in the first few months after a person is infected, but many are unaware of their status until the later stages. In the first few weeks after being infected, people may not experience symptoms. So it's not a must that when you've got it today, then you'll see the signs immediately. No, it'll take some weeks or even some months. Some people can even be dormant for a bit of a longer time. Okay. So others may have influenza-like illness, including fever, headache, rash, sore throat. So that one will be common. And then the infection is progressively weakens the immune system, and this can cause other signs and symptoms like swollen lymph nodes. And the lymph nodes are always found under your armpits. They're also found between your genitals. They're also found at the neck region there, just below your throat. So those are the lymph nodes. Anytime you see them swollen, it is also a good indicator that you could be having HIV virus. And then weight loss, usually it is also a sign. Then we have fever, we have diarrhea, we have cough. All those can be signs that can come progressively after a number of weeks or months after the infection. But this is an important thing to note that without treatment, people living with HIV infection can also develop severe illness such as tuberculosis. That's why they say that if someone has tuberculosis, there are also greater chances that those such people can also be having HIV. And also, if you have HIV and you're not under treatment, it is possible to get tuberculosis. So that one comes due to the weakened immune system. And then we go to the transmission of the virus. Of course, HIV can be transmitted via the exchange of body fluids from people living with HIV, including blood, breast milk, semen, and vaginal secretions. So through all those ways, you can get the HIV. Like I said, blood, someone when you get a cut or you use a razor blade for someone who has HIV and they got a cut maybe,